President, please be seated. The court is now in session. The chamber continues to hear the remaining testimony of the witness, Mr. Pecham. Ms. Sakolbutte, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Grazie. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except Mr. Sonarun, the National Co-Counsel for Nunchi, is absent for health reasons. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to continue his testimony today, Mr. Pecham, and his duty counsel, Pechsawan, are present in the courtroom, and there is no reserved witness today. President, thank you. The Chamber now decides on a request by Nunchi. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nunchi, dated 24 April 2015, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to have his right to participate in and be present at the 24 April 2015 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nunchi by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC dated 24 April 2015, who notes that Nunchi has a chronic back pain and it gets worse when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Pursuant to the above information and Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nunchi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. That applies for today's proceeding, and the AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nunchi can follow it. And before the Chamber hands the floor to the defense team, the Chamber would like to advise Mr. Pecham that the Chamber received information that you are not feeling that well this morning, and if you need a break or need to use a bathroom, please don't hesitate to inform the Chamber. Thank you. And the Chamber now hands the floor to the defense teams to put the questions to Mr. Pecham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, Counsel. Mr. President, if you allow me, I would like to start with two preliminary points before I ask questions to the witness. First is the matter of the time that is left to us. Is it correct that we pretty much have all day to ask questions? And my second question is relating to two statements that the witness gave to the I'll just refer to the documents. That's E127/7.1.4 and E127/7.1.3. There are a few passages in these statements which are redacted. And I'd be actually interested in reading the answer that he had given to the investigators. Of course, there's difference, I think, in situation now with the charges in cases 3 and 4 and the moment that we were given these statements. So I was wondering whether it would be somehow possible to receive the unredacted versions. I know it's a late request, but I think it's relevant because, as the prosecution indicated, it might be possible that this witness is not returning at one point in time. So my question is related to specifically question and answer 44 and 45 in E127/7.1.4 and the redacted versions, or redacted excerpts in E127/7.1.3, questions A1 and A2.
Can I just ask a clarification? What exactly are you asking for now?
The unredacted version.
To be able to read it or to obtain it, obviously?
Both.
Today?
Well, possibly this morning or in the break.
Thank you. I can inform you a little bit. We noticed this, and a number of weeks ago made a specific request to authorize the release of the unredacted versions. We haven't received that authorization yet, but we did file a motion a number of weeks ago, maybe at least 3 weeks ago. The other thing I can tell you, I think, without violating it, the information that one of the reasons we asked for that is because the information that's redacted in here actually appears in other interviews that are unredacted. So I anticipate that we will get that authority at some point. I don't think it will provide significant anything new than what counsel already knows, but we have made that request.
I would be very happy to hear from... Sorry, Mr. President, may I briefly reply?
Not yet translated. But
I understand that it is the decision is pending, but I would be very happy to hear in which documents the answer of this witness is being mentioned. Something funny?
Well, in effect, that's reading it out. But my question to the prosecutor is there any chance, through informal means, to get a decision today on that? Or an answer to your request today from the investigating judges?
I'll send an email to the office to see if we have a rather major filing going on today, but I'm sure someone can go over and make an inquiry to see if that's possible.
Thank you, Mr. President. And no reaction on my first question, so I presume that we have all day. Mr. Pekchim, good morning to you.
President, Counsel Copper, in fact, you should have one full day so that the defense will have an equal time through the prosecution. However, we gently remind you not to put questions that have been prohibited by the chamber, for example, leading questions, and that would just drag on and waste the time. And I'm confident that you are well familiar with this issue and instruction from the chamber since you've been a counsel for so many years.
I will do my best not to ask any leading questions, Mr. President. Mr. Bekçim, good morning. I would like to revisit a few issues that we discussed yesterday. I have a few follow-up questions in relation to the sector chief, Saum. Is it correct that his wife, Chat, is still living and that she lives somewhere in Malay district?
President, rather witness, yes, that is correct.
Yesterday we also spoke about Saum and his political views and political stance. Would you be able to tell me the same thing about Com? Was there similarity between Saum and Com in terms of political views in the period 70-79?
Both of them actually had the same point of view in terms of political stance, as they both followed the party's lines. However, they were different in terms of gender and in terms of the level of education, as the female Com was young. And she was young. She left the district for a period of time, for a short period of time, and returned, so that she knew only a few senior cadres.
But was Com also very rigorous in her political stance? Was she radical in her policies, just like Saum was?
Through my observation, they were both hardline followers, or radical, or in Khmer we would say they were pure red. And that would be the reaction that you would receive from people living in the district.
Are you aware that also Chuchet, in his confession, talked about Saum as being very oppressive? I withdraw the question. Mr. Bekçim, can you compare Saum and Com in terms of political stance with another District 105 person, a woman named Bun?
If you compare the two women, Bun was of a better status, both in terms of popularity and work achievement.
Would you be able to give an example why you think Bun was better in political stance than Com?
She was more mature, has more experience than Com. Com was young, so her knowledge was limited. However, they both were committed to the party.
Last question about Com. You have testified that she died quite early and that she had died of a swollen stomach disease. What do you mean with a swollen stomach disease?
I did not know the actual cause of her death. I only knew that she was sick, and I actually took care of her in District 105. Before her death, she became mentally unstable, and she cursed a lot. Especially, she was cursing me a lot since I was taking care of her. And then we had a Vietnamese physician to treat her. Her condition somehow became better, but later on, she followed her husband. That is about a year after she was discharged. And then we heard that she died, and probably she died from this edema, that is, her abdomen area was swollen.
Do you know whether that had something to do with reasons of lack of food, or did it have other reasons?
I think it would be better if the treating doctor can provide that explanation to you, because I can't.
Very well, I understand your answer, Mr. Pak Chim. I would like now to move on to another point. It's a small point, but I want to have clarity on this. During your testimony today and yesterday and the day before, you specifically said that you left District 105 in February 1977. However, this question was asked to you as well by the investigators. That is question document E319.1.18, question 172 and 173, Mr. President. Question, I will read that to you, Mr. Pak Chim, and then I want to hear your answer. The investigators ask you, in your interview with the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges on 25 October 2009, you seem to say that you arrived in the Central Zone on 12 February 1977. Now, you have just said you arrived on 14 February 1976. Were you confused with the year, or did you recall the year wrongly? Your answer is, I arrived in the Central Zone on 14 February 1976, not in 1977. Just to be clear, what is your answer now? Did you arrive in February 76 or in February 77?
I'd like to make an amendment to that statement to 14 February 1976. So, in fact, before that, I had attended a study session at the party's school where Noon Chea was an instructor. Then I left for the area. So I was there for 2 months and 14 days before I was transferred to the Central Zone.
So the definite answer is 1977. Is that correct?
It's 1976.
Oh, I apologize. I misheard you. And did you have no business anymore in Tramkok district after February 1976?
Yes, that is correct.
I would like now, Mr. Pekchim, to show you a document. It's a document that you were asked questions about in your statement to one of the investigators. Mr. President, I would like to show to the witness one page from document E3/2107, and I would like to show him the Khmer ERN 0068049.
Yes, you may proceed.
I will shortly give you the English ERN. Mr. Witness, I would like to take you to your answer that you gave to the investigators. That is document E3/5786, question and answer 39. Meanwhile, Mr. President, the English ERN is 00290-205. Mr. Pekchim, I would like you to have a look at the document, and then I would like to read your answer that you gave regarding this particular page, and then ask you whether your statement is correct. French ERN 006-55729. Question. Here is a document with ERN 000680460068082 that I would like you to read. We want you to reach page number 4, which has ERN 49 at the end. Your answer. The substance of this writing said, the Re-Education Center 105. Up to date, we have smashed the enemy of 15,000 persons. Please, the party be informed. The Re-Education Center 105, signed An. This writing was really the writing of An, who was the chairman of Krang Tachan Re-Education Center. These writings seemed to belong to two writers. The two lines at the bottom were An writing, starting from please, the party be informed, down to the signature which was signed by An. But I do not know whose writing were the 4 lines above. My first question, do you remember giving this answer to the investigators?
That was the matter dealt with Ant and the district chairperson Khom. And from what I can see, the handwritings are of true individuals. So it is hard to say that the statement is 100% accurate. And in this particular report, it was about the total number of people. And of course, Anne knew about this. As for me, I was not aware of this, as I did not have anything to do with this report, as I worked elsewhere. And if there was any request to me, then I would receive it and then submit it to the district chief for consideration.
Mr. Bekçim, it seems to be a bit odd that this note relating to 15,000 possible victims at Krang Tachan is divided into two handwritings, or is consisting of two handwritings rather. Can you explain us why it is that you say these are two handwritings into one annotation on this document?
Mr. President, my objection is simply to the leading part of that question, which was suggesting that there was something odd. That's, in fact, contrary to the testimony of this witness, who has explained that it was not unusual for other people, assistants, to write the substance of text. He testified that a number of times. So I have no objection to an open question, but leading the witness by suggesting there's something odd about it is inappropriate.
I find the discussion on leading questions a very interesting one, since I think the prosecution is not doing anything else but asking leading questions. So I think I should be able to ask this question. It's also cross-examination, what we're doing here. So I think I should be able to ask whether it's odd, yes or no, that this annotation, which seems to play an important role in the closing order, consists of two handwritings, whether that's odd or whether that's usual. I think that is an entirely appropriate question.
I agree. If he asks if it's odd or usual, it is inappropriate. Then he's not leading.
Fine. Is it usual or is it odd that in this annotation we can distinguish apparently two handwritings, two forms or two different handwritings?
In my view, I think that the report was correct, but there were two different handwriting. Down below belongs to one person, and 5 lines above that was another person's. I cannot comment on it. So it was the practice in Angkar, and it was Angkar's matters, and it is up to the chamber to decide. It's beyond my capacity to comment on this.
I understand. I appreciate your answer, Mr. Pekchim. We might need a specialist on this. I have a question relating to possible forgeries of documents in Tram Kok district. Now, both the earlier mentioned Boon and Tassan, who was also questioned here in this trial chamber, talked about the existence of forgeries of documents in Tram Kok district. Can you tell us anything about whether that is correct? Were documents forged in Tram Kok district? And if yes, how did that happen?
That I do not know.
Would it be correct to say that before February 76 you did not hear about documents being forged?
No, I did not hear anything about it.
I would like to turn now to another subject, Mr. Pekchim. And that is a statement that was given by a cadre originally coming from Tram Kok district, but who later moved to Sector 25. And I would like to read a passage from his statement to you, and then I would like to ask your reaction. Mr. President, that is document E127/7.1.8, English ERN 00901570, Khmer ERN 0089327776. The French ERN is 00978648, 00978649. Question 5.
Look. The President, Mr. Victor Coupe, could you please repeat the ERN numbers again, and please slow down for the accurate record.
I apologize, Mr. President. It's Khmer 00893277. English ERN 00901569. French 00978648. So the question, Mr. Pekchim, to this cadre is as follows. That's question 5. As the Kampong Sway commune chief, did you receive an order from the upper echelon to arrest people? Answer. As part of the Kampong Sway commune committee, I did not wish to harm anyone who did something wrong, but the commune level had the right to report to the upper echelon. I had rights to report to the upper echelon. For example, when people did not have enough rice to eat, when they produced only 2 tons of rice per hectare. With this regard, Grandfather Mock issued an order that the commune, district and sector levels did not have the authority to make arrests or kill people. Question: what levels did the commune level have rights to report to? The commune level had rights to report to the district level, but in order to make a report about a person, the commune committee of 5 to 7 members had to hold a meeting to have an agreement before making the report to the district level. Question: Grandfather Mock said that the district and sector levels did not have the authority to kill people. Why were many people killed in the district and the sectors? Answer: I did not know either about the implementation, but I recall Grandfather Mock's remarks clearly. Was Grandfather Mock in the zone committee? Yes, he was, is his answer. And now comes the important part, Mr. Pekchim. When did Grandfather Mock make this announcement? Answer: Grandfather Mock made this announcement prior to 1975 during a wrap-up meeting held annually in Forest, participated by the commune, district and provincial committees and the regiments. After 1975, there was another meeting in the provincial town of Takiu in the presence of Grandfather Mock and Saum, who was in the Sector 13 committee, announced that soldiers with the ranks from second lieutenant to colonel were not to be harmed. Question: you meant that soldiers from the ranks of second lieutenant to colonel were not arrested? I did not know, because the implementation was varied from sector to sector. End of quote, Mr. Pekchim. Now, this Southwest Zone cadre, who worked in Sector 25, talked about 2 meetings in which Tamok announced that soldiers with the rank from second lieutenant to colonel were not to be harmed. My first question: were you present at either of these 2 meetings?
Mr. President, my objection is he's just misstated to the witness that what he just read. The witness described one meeting that had to do with who had authority and a second meeting on the issue. So there were not 2 meetings on the issue of ranks.
We don't know that, but he's talking about 2 meetings. I'll formulate it more neutrally. Mr. Pekchim, this Southwest Zone cadre, Sector 25 cadre, talks about 2 meetings. Meeting prior to 1975 and a meeting after 1975. Do you recall having attended either one of these 2 meetings?
I only attended the meeting after 1975 behind the party office, where Tamok also attended. And the meetings that was held in the forest, I did not attend. Maybe it could have been Kom attending the meeting. It was hardly possible to convene the meeting of all members.
I understand, so I will focus on that second meeting in the provincial town of Takiu. This cadre talks about after 1975. Would you be able to tell us more exactly when this meeting took place in Takeo, during which Tamok and Tasom were present?
In Takao, it was after the liberation. In Takao province, the meeting was held after 1975. It was held in one of the houses along the river edge, north part of the provincial town. That was a learning session over there, and the sector committee and district committee, including military committee, attended. But as for those who were designated with other tasks, they were absent in that meeting. And of course, that meeting was held then, and there was that announcement.
You remember, Mr. Pakchin, that yesterday we spoke about a 4-day meeting in May 1975 in Phnom Penh, a meeting between 20 and 24 May. The meeting in Takeo province was that after the meeting in Phnom Penh on 20 May and further 1975?
The meeting held in Takao took place after the meeting in Phnom Penh. For clarification, there were a lot of meetings held here and there at that time, so I may be confused myself. I did not know which happened first and which happened later. At that time, we did not keep proper records. We did not have the recording system. We only took a few notes. So those meetings which I convened and I prepared myself, I could recall. I attended various meetings, and then I got the instructions, and then I disseminated the instructions. But there were several meetings held here and there at that time. I cannot recall them all.
But do you confirm the statement of this Southwest Zone cadre who told the investigators that Tamok announced that soldiers with the ranks from second lieutenant to colonel were not to be harmed? Do you confirm this Southwest Zone cadre's statement?
Yes, that is correct. But the announcement was made here and there, and I did not know specifically where he made that announcement, but I can confirm the statement that that was the announcement at the time.
Do you remember if any other cadres from District 105 were present at this meeting? More specifically, do you remember if Boon was present at this meeting as well?
No, he was not. If I refer to the meeting held in Takao province, Boon was not there. He would have talked at 25, or he may have heard from others, and then he spread the words. That could have been possible as well.
Here in the English translation that you refer to he. it is in fact she. That's correct. We're talking about the same person, Boon, right?
Bươn. Bươn or Pươn? Let me ask for clarification. You are referring to Bươn or Pươn?
Boon, the woman that we spoke about earlier, whom I asked you to compare her with Com.
That's correct. The woman. For that, Bươn was present in the meeting in Takao. But in the meeting held at Sector 25, it was Pươn. Pươn was a man.
Do you remember roughly how many people attended this meeting?
Approximately 50 to 60 people. There were representatives from the military, from the base. There was no one representing the department because Tamok attended himself, and as for the military, they would convene. They would invite the commanders from the regiment or division to come, and they also extended the invitation to the district and commune, but to some commune only, not all of them. They were of similar rank, but there were different tasks designated to them. That's why certain communes attended and others did not. They had to wait to listen for further instruction from the district. There were principle of specialty. In other words, they had to listen to the instruction from their upper echelon.
Do you remember whether Mayor Smut was also present during this meeting in Takeo provincial town?
On that day, there was no Mihmut. There was one person. He was I cannot recall his name. He was the son-in-law of Tamok. He was from the division, but he passed away. I recall his name now. His name was Ran. On that day, Mihmut did not attend. He had another assignment with Division 2, who was responsible for the corridor between Kampong Speu to Kampong Saum. Sun was there and Ryan was there. He was responsible for the Kampong Saum port and the and the representative from Navy base was also there in the meeting. Others, there were representatives from all division from the southern zone, but there was no representative from the division from the northern zone.
Thank you, Mr. Pak-Chim. I'm going to be asking you maybe a difficult question in terms of memory. But if you think back of this meeting and the people who attended, do you know if anybody that you saw during this meeting, or any person who is still alive and who could also speak to us about what was being said during the meeting?
I do not remember any of them. I only recall that there was Tamok, Pine, Saum, and on that day Khom did not attend. He had asked for leave to visit his family. And at the sector level, it was sector 13, and I do not recall others. Mihmud was not there, but Ryan was there. And Ruen was there as well. By his alias was 05.
Yesterday, Mr. Pak-Chim, you spoke about the problem of revenge killings, killings by soldiers of Lon Nol soldiers out of revenge, if I understood you correctly. The war had just ended. Was the issue of revenge killings due to the war a point of discussion during this meeting?
It was due to the war that was raging. It was not a personal matter.
But the war had already ended. The meeting must have been probably after May 1975. Was the issue of revenge killings a point of discussion or not at all?
No, it was not.
My last question in relation to this meeting, you confirmed that it was Tamok who spoke, and that it was Tamok who gave the instruction in relation to ranking officers. Did Saum himself also speak?
Whenever Tamok spoke, Saum did not speak. Only when Tamok did not say anything, then he would explain. That was the rule and the working procedure. If the senior, if the superior spoke, then the subordinate must not speak. So Saum did not speak at that meeting. And then he asked whether or not people had taken note, whether people had got what was given. So it was that firm and clear.
Following up on your last answer, when you when the meeting was finished and you left, it was crystal clear to you that the instruction was not to touch, not to harm ranking officers of the Lon Nol Army. Is that correct?
The President, Deputy Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Yes, counsel is again leading and actually completely misstating the testimony that has been confirmed. The instruction not to harm those that was testified to was not to harm the alleged instruction, not to harm those between the rank of second lieutenant and colonel. There are 5 ranks above colonel, 5 ranks below second lieutenant. So to now try to lead the witness and suggest this meant that all ranking officers, it's one of the reasons I would add you need to call this witness. This information is patently wrong. It makes no sense. But in any event, you should not be turning testimony about a limited range of ranks into an instruction about all ranking officers.
Well, I haven't been in the Army myself, but I think second lieutenant is pretty much the lowest ranking officer rank. But let me make it very concrete. Mr. Pekchim, was it clear to you, crystal clear at the end of the day, that soldiers with the ranks from second lieutenant to colonel were not to be harmed?
Yes, that what we all understood at that time.
And if these ranking officers were not to be harmed, did that necessarily automatically imply that the lower ranking soldiers were of course also not to be harmed?
I would have no objection to open-ended questions, but he's leading the witness, trying to put words in his mouth.
Again, Mr. President, that is standing practice in this court, so I think I'm allowed to do that, to ask whether this is the implication. I don't see any problems with this question.
President, you are not allowed to put that kind of questions to the witness, as it is a kind of leading questions that would elicit a suggestion or a conclusion from the witness.
Maybe I can seek some guidance. Maybe I just simply do not understand the concept of leading questions, Mr. President. If the prosecution reads a passage from a statement and then asks to confirm, isn't that also a leading question? Maybe I need to have some instruction as to what exactly a leading question is in this courtroom.
It is clear in the Chamber's view that that question was a leading question, and the witness you instructed not to answer the last question by Nuon Chi's defense, as it is considered a leading question by the Chamber.
I will rephrase the question, Mr. Pekchim. The instruction of Tamok in relation to soldiers with the ranks from second lieutenant to colonel, that they were not to be harmed, that is clear. What was your impression at the time, or what was your understanding at the time, what the fate should be of soldiers with no ranks or soldiers with ranks lower than second lieutenant?
for those who had lower ranks would be spared. As you could imagine, that was logical, because for those who were within the ranks from the second lieutenant to colonel would be spared, would not be touched.
And what about former military with the rank higher than colonel? What was their fate?
I do not know about that. As the soldiers who arrived at the base, none of them did not have any rank of a lieutenant colonel or colonel at all. And mostly we only received widows. And as for higher ranking officers, I did not see one at that time. And I don't want to give you a presumption on this issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pekchim, for these answers. I would like to turn now to another subject, and that is, it's only one or two questions I have, the treatment of Cham people in your district. We heard the testimony a few weeks ago, Mr. Pekchim, of a woman who lived in Tram Kok district, who was and still is a Cham, and she testified that she was at one point in time, several times actually, forced by local cadres to eat pork. Do you know anything about local lower-ranking cadres forcing Cham people to eat pork in Tram Kok district?
I heard about that matter, which was raised during a meeting. The problem was that the dining hall was for communal eating. So in that instance, the soup was cooked with the pork, and as the Cham people did not eat pork, then the staff there gave them different soup, probably fish. If not fish, then they gave them something else to eat instead of pork. And that's how they resolved the issue. So it is my understanding that those Cham people were not forced to eat the pork, as the issue was resolved by the people working there.
Thank you for this answer, Mr. Pekchim. Another topic. What can you tell us about the treatment of Vietnamese people living in Tram Kok district between 1975, April 75, and the moment you left, spring 1976?
Vietnamese people issue had been resolved when they were exchanged to return to Vietnam. And in certain instances, when the husbands were Vietnamese, some of them decided to return to Vietnam and left behind their wives. And in other instances, they would share the children. For example, one child would return to Vietnam with the husband, and another child would remain in Cambodia with the wife. And to my understanding, that's how we resolve the Vietnamese people issue, and that principle applied through the later years of the regime as well. So I would like to make everybody clear on this issue and the principle regarding the dealing with the Vietnamese people. At that time, while I was there, we tried to apply the principle in a better way, although sometimes there were shortcomings. And after I left, I believed they would do the same. As the situation kept changing, so I cannot say for sure whether the principle had been applied in a manner that I had applied before I left.
Are you aware, in the time that you were functioning in Tram Coc district, of any maltreatment of Vietnamese people, or even executions of Vietnamese people?
No, there was no such thing, because Vietnamese had been severely mistreated by the former Tribunal regime. And when we took control of the country, we considered the Vietnamese people as our ally or our friends. And when we proposed that they should return to Vietnam, and only 2 days later, they all agreed to return to Vietnam, because now there were no more troubles for them in trying to return to Vietnam, and we made that arrangement for them to do so. So for those Vietnam who had come to Cambodia before, returned after we made that proposal, and we did that based on the guidelines or instructions from the upper echelon, that is from Tam Mok. And let me restate that they had been mistreated by the former regime, that is the former Tribunal regime, in particular by the former Tribunal soldiers. President, thank you. It is now convenient to take a short break. We take a break now and resume at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness in the room for the witnesses and civil parties, and at 10:30 invite him as well as the duty counsel back into the courtroom. The court is now in recess.